Welcome back to Dummy Boy Finance. I'm Dummy Boy, and in this video I want to go over why the stock market may actually not be crashing, and I want to go over why I believe and why the price action has actually backed up that claim. So right now we're looking at the US 500, which is essentially the S&P 500. So this index tracks the performance of the S&P, and so over the last week, we knew that the stock market was starting to sell off. We had a lot of red days. People were very afraid of what was going to happen here in the market, but there is no fear when you actually have a game plan in the market. And so again, anytime you have price action above a 50 SMA, there is no real concern into selling your position just yet, because this is a sign of bullish momentum. So since this point here in March of 2021, we had a very strong run in which we got away from our 50 SMA, and all that happened in this last week was we got our back test of our 50 SMA, which is also a very critical level of support. So if we look at the recent history of this uptrend line right here, you could see we got rejected by this line many times. This was a major level of resistance on our S&P 500, and we finally got to back test this yesterday. After this bounce, we proceeded with two strong back-to-back green days, and so this right here is extremely bullish. And so anybody who bought the dip here 2 days ago would already be up a substantial amount, and this is why we like to track the overall indexes, so we get a better sense of direction overall with all of our smaller stock picks. And so we were not really concerned just yet with a major stock market crash. Once we break down below our 50 SMA is when we start to reconsider and we start to look at all other options in the market. But as long as we are above this point, and especially after the fact that we bounced right here, this is extremely bullish to be going long here on the stock market. And a lot of stocks have taken a correction, a lot of market rotation is happening, but I don't think we are having that major market crash that everybody is talking about right now. And so same thing here, if we look at our NASDAQ was looking like it was about to have a very terrifying time here, but you can see we've made a very nice reversal. But the one thing to mention on the NASDAQ is because we dropped down in such a fast fashion, we had a gap to fill to the upside, which we did fill here today. And so this could just have been a gap to fill, and then we keep proceeding to the downside. And so if I'm looking at both indexes here, if I'm looking at the NASDAQ and I'm looking at the S&P in my opinion looks a lot more bullish than the NASDAQ, just because we got our back test of our 50 SMA. Not only did we get the back test, but we actually got a back test of a major level of support that we have not tested as a level of support. And so those of you who aren't familiar with trading, once you break a level of resistance, you want to treat it as support to see if we found a nice base and we are starting to make higher lows. And so that is exactly what we're doing here on the S&P with that bounce back. However, with the NASDAQ, this could have just been a gap to fill. And so we are still going to wait and watch to see exactly what happens. And another thing that kind of gives me a little bit more worry on the NASDAQ, if we look at our buying volume right here, you could see we didn't have that much buying relative to the selling that we saw the last couple days. In contrast, if we look at the S&P 500, we actually got a lot better buying volume than we did here on the S&P rather than the NASDAQ. And so you can also see our MACD is starting to curl up here. We have better accumulation overall on the S&P 500. And so during this entire market run up, we saw the NASDAQ run a lot higher than everything else. So we expect it to have a lot more downside moving forward, whereas the S&P looks a lot more stable right now. And so you can see here on our accumulation over distribution on our S&P, we were starting to get some selling right here, but you could see that came right back up. And so now we are maintaining our trajectory here, and everything looks super bullish right now on the S&P 500. And so where some people may have been selling at this level right here after 3 consecutive red days with fears of a market crash, smart investors bought the dip, opened some long positions at this level of support, which then we bounced off of and we started to make our way right back up. And so overall, we should probably put a pause on the stock market crash talks. Yes, a lot of the stocks have corrected and they are going to continue to correct, but we aren't having this overall market crash just yet. And so until we get price action below our 50 SMA on all of our indexes, that's when we should start to worry. But until then, we actually got an extremely bullish bounce here off of our 50 SMA, and I'm very excited to see where this takes us for the next following weeks. I do think this was extremely bullish for stock market investors, and so looking at this bounce, I think this was a great opportunity to open up long positions for the next run up here in the stock market. But we'll see how this one plays out the next coming weeks. I'm excited because this was a very nice bullish move overall for the S&P 500. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like. We are on the road to 10K subs, so if you made it to this point, feel free to hit that subscription button. This is Dummy Boy Finance. I'm Dummy Boy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.